Of a very different nature, the Rallysprint.
It's the new Rallysprint track, custom built at a cost of over £500,000, and this is the inaugural event. It's going to be used, of course, on the RAC Rally, and here is basically what is a figure of 8 with the top 0 folded over the lower 0, if you get my gist. This is very similar to the track that's been run for the Race of Champions down in the Canary Islands. You see the two parallel tracks, and basically what happens is the guy on one track starts at the beginning of the course, does part 1 and then part 2, and the guy alongside him does part 2 first and then part 1. So really it is just one track, although for much of the period of time the cars run alongside each other. Meanwhile, this was pretty special. Here's Charlie Exton in the yellow and white Honda on one of the qualifying runs, and this is how accurate you have to be here. Just clips the corner and over she goes and rocks on the roof, and I should think his sponsor, who was sitting in the co-driver's seat, was a little surprised. Indeed, that's one of the things you're able to do on this Rallysprint. A £10 licence, buy on the day, and you can become a co-driver. I had a ride in this car, but nothing to do with the wedding coming up for Roger Duckworth. Well, here was one of the fastest of the qualifying runs amongst the 30 entries to weed out 16 cars. Steve Hill there, just beating Chris Mellors, whose kit car Escort was plagued early on with various engine management problems. So in the qualifying, it was Steve Hill who was third fastest after that great heat with Mellors. And Brian Lyle, look at the damage he did, running all the way around the Armco barrier. The Scottish champion, there is Brian, who recorded the second fastest time during the qualifying runs. The fastest of all, a man very much on form from the south coast, sponsored by Sunseeker Powerboats, and ploughing through the water there. Yeah, Marcus Dodd setting the fastest time from the 3 qualifying runs. Each car had 3 qualifying runs. There is Marcus Dodd. He would be one of the favourites for the main runoffs. There we have, on the right-hand lane, the Subaru Impreza of Murray Grierson. He's alongside Jeff Smith. Now this is not a knockout, it is all down to the fastest 8 times. The fastest 8 times will go through to the next round. So they're not exactly head-to-head, but they don't even know that, I don't think. The outside lane is a bit further, so when they cross the start-finish line for the first time, they shouldn't be level. I'll explain where they should be in juxtaposition when we get there. Here is Jeff Smith. Jeff trying to shake off his reputation as a crasher, and has certainly been going well of late. Meanwhile, the very experienced Scotsman Murray Grierson, former champion, up in your right-hand screen you can see the corners. Here is Jeff. Jeff should come off the tarmac as Murray goes onto it, but Murray got onto the tarmac before Jeff got off it. So Murray Grierson is leading this one in his Subaru, his ex-Pro Drive machine. And at the split, they were into 39, a great big jump from Murray Grierson onto the concrete hairpin. And Jeff Smith goes wide, gets it a bit wrong. Jeff Smith, I think, is starting to close now. The clock runs. We're looking for a time of just over 1.5 minutes. Grierson goes over the bridge. He is definitely ahead of Jeff Smith. We just caught a glimpse of the orange car of Smith coming under the bridge. The 2 courses then go back parallel again. And we're looking for Jeff Smith, but it's Grierson. Grierson stops the clock at 34.6, and Jeff Smith, a disappointing run from him, 1:37.9. Remember, the fastest 8 of these 8 runs, 16 cars, go forward to the next round. The spectators definitely enjoying rally sprinting, a new form of this age-old sport. Now we have Richie Holfeld against Nigel Worsley. Richie Holfeld in his Group N Mitsubishi, a Steve Hill built car, an Evo 4 car. And really, Richie is at a major power disadvantage. Oh, big nosedive there from Richie Holfeld. Against this man, Nigel Warswick. Richie Holfeld, whose family originally come from Austria. His cousin Helmut, we often see rallycrossing in the British Championship. Richie Holfeld is in the pump business. In fact, he's done an enormous amount of work out in the Middle East. Here's the Rockwell car of Nigel Warswick, that old style Sierra. But
this sound carrier will soon be switched off. If you wish to receive Eurosport in English, please retune your receiver to 7.02 megahertz. For the Hungarian sound, please contact your cable operator.
Goes Richie Holfeld from Dublin.
Now let's see what happens. Holfeld goes wide. Oh,
yeah, Richie Holfeld keeping it neat and tidy. And as you can hear, we've got a very noisy Gary Champion on the PA system, so we're trying to fight against him a little bit. And there we see Nigel Warswick, just a little flicker of fingers at the camera. And who's going to take this one? It's very, very close. They're coming towards the line. No, it's going to be Warswick. Holfeld slowed up, and there you get Warswick stopping the clocks at 35.5. And one of only 3 Group N cars which went into the final 16. Richie Holfeld, he'll be eliminated. There you see the 4 times thus far, right down to 100th of a second. Grierson fastest, then Warswick, then Jeff Smith. We'll keep building that graphic up. And now we get the next pair. There's Chris Mellors in his brand spanking new kit car from Chesterfield. He's up against Nick Foster. Well, we know that Nick Foster goes quickly around here, but a Group N Escort should not really stand any chance. Oh! Chris Mellors makes a big mistake, very nearly puts it on its side. Well, that would have dropped him certainly a second or so, and Nick Foster might just be the surprise package here. But Chris Mellors, lots of understeer on that very slippery concrete section. So Chris Mellors has got it all to do now. Chris Mellors will have some 300 brake horsepower propelling him along, about 70 or 80 more probably than this man, Nick Foster, the civil engineer in the Amcris construction car. He crosses the line. Will he get off the tarmac before Chris Mellors? No, he doesn't. So Mellors is perhaps just a tad in the lead now as they go round the second loop. Chris Mellors has been fighting all kinds of problems with his car, new car problems mainly in the engine management system. Gently goes it for Nick Foster. He gets that absolutely right. And we've got an outstanding performance by Foster here in the Group N car, the ex-Easton machine. But the determined Chris Mellors, the Mellors Elliott Motorsport car, and the Elliott is long gone incidentally. It is all Chris Mellors is this company. Engineer and driver, and he comes towards the line on the outside lane, and Chris Mellors stops the clock at 1:34.7. Nick Foster 36.8. I think will be eliminated now, and we're just waiting to see. Well, his time not actually shown. Oh, Nick Foster, yeah, in 4th place, but I think we've got some faster cars to come. This is another of these quick Scots, Sandy Dalgarno on the right. On the left is the brand new Group N car of Jeremy Eason.
Let's see what happens now. Sandy Dalgarno.
This is the final remaining Group N car in here, so this will be for the honours of Group N, I suspect, if nothing else. But of course, going through to the last 8 as well. Here the old anti-lag, the popping away on Sandy Dalgarno, the former karter. Sandy Dalgarno also does some classic rallying, and Jeremy Eason, remember, had that absolutely sensational finish on last year's Network Q RAC rally. Sandy Dalgarno has been one of the leading contenders in the Scottish Championship this year. Jeremy Eason, of course, this is his first event of the year. Through the underpass, and let's see what it's like when they get to the halfway mark. Well, Eason certainly going very fast. Eason, will he come off the tarmac? No, he doesn't, but I would say that is just about neck and neck. It's all to do on this second loop. And the big story here at Silverstone, we've seen it earlier on, keep it neat and tidy. Through the water splash goes Jeremy Eason. A big nosedive for Sandy Delgado, probably ripped the splitter off in the bargain. Oh, Delgado bogs down there, and Delgado loses time. I think this one could go to Eason. And remember, we've got all these guests, well, call them co-drivers, basically they're sacks of potatoes, various sponsors, guests, pressmen. Some are petrified, some are really enjoying themselves, but what a way to promote rallying is this rally sprint. They're coming towards the line, it's a bit longer around the outside, but it's a bit faster, and crossing the line first, Delgado just pips Jeremy Eason. Well, Eason was the fastest runner most of the way through that run. Has he won the Group N section though? Well, there you see Jeremy Eason just ahead of Nick Foster by 0.3 of a second. Whatever happens, he'll take the Group N award, and there is the fastest 8 thus far when we've had half the competitors run through here. Now we have Oxford Steve Hill, the golf course owner, against Peter Versado, the fishmonger. Peter Versado, well, is a wholesale fishmonger with the ex-Carlos Sainz Subaru Impreza. This is the car which finished second on the RAC Rally a couple of years ago. Steve Hill with his Steve Hill rallying built Mitsubishi Evo 3, running now the standard gearbox, and Versado bogging down at the hairpin. Steve Hill already throwing the mud and then bouncing up the bank. He's got the indicator going, no, he's managed to kill that. And then this is the crossover section. Steve Hill, who is normally co-driven by Julia Rabette, and I think it is her sitting in there, and there is certainly method in Steve Hill's, I won't say madness, but there is method, because Julia Rabette is only about 7 stone, and weight really matters on a sprint course of this nature. In fact, Julia is reading him some notes, I think, certainly has her head down. Through the water splash goes Versado, and a big jump for Steve Hill. Throws the car sideways into the hairpin, onto the concrete, accelerates out, 4-wheel drive from the Mitsubishi, thrusts the car forward, and I think this one's going to be very close indeed. It certainly looks close. Over the bridge goes the Mitsubishi. Under the bridge comes the Subaru. And now I think this is Hill. Hill has to go the long way round, but it is a bit faster. It's a slightly faster line. But no, Hill has it. Steve Hill finishes. Versado crunches against the Armco. And they both have quick times. 34.2 to Steve Hill. And let's see how it shakes down. Versado and Hill go into the top 8 now. Hill is fastest of all. Versado is 4th. Now we'll see them dropping off. We see that Richie Holfeld is now off the qualifying list of 8. Here is Marcus Dodd, the man that's been on form. Here is a very big surprise packet. The old red Subaru Legacy of Ian Gwynn, son of rally school owner Bill Gwynn, no mean rally driver. Marcus Dodd, well funded, the Sunseeker Powerboats company, of course, run by his father Harry and by Marcus. And Marcus Dodd certainly is emerging as one of the young talents of British rallying. And both of them are having problems there. Look, Dodd banks it, but it straightens the car out. And I think they're just about level. We'll see when they get down to the start-finish tarmac. But Ian Gwynn, who really hasn't been doing many rallies, is a former RS 2000 Challenge winner back in 1992 and 93, I think. But is spending most of his time at the rally school, and a lot of smoke coming up from Marcus Dodd. He goes all the way around the Armco, and I think Gwynn is actually ahead. Bill Gwynn in this Legacy, which is really only Group N.5. It is not a full house car. This is not an ex-Pro Drive machine that has some Pro Drive bits on it, but it is in fact something of a bitzer. But Ian Gwynn driving extremely well, and a lot of dust coming up. That's what it is. It's not smoke, it's dust. This track drying out all the time after the early morning rain. And over the bridge as they head now towards the line. Look at the clock, and it looks as if Dodd's been spectacular in the closing section. Dodd comes round wide. Has Dodd got it? Oh, very wide indeed, and Dodd stops the clock at 1:34.6. But Gwynn may have done enough to get into the top 8 run out into the semi-finals? Yes, indeed he has. Ian Gwynn moves up to 6th. Marcus Dodd is 3rd, but Steve Hill still has the fastest run. Now here's another Mellors prepared car, and in that car is Trevor Smith, the former British national champion, and Roger Duckworth, son of the great Keith Duckworth, founder of Cosworth Engineering, and Keith is here today to cheer on Roger, who has a new upgraded engine in his Auto Sportif prepared Subaru Legacy. Roger himself an engineer at Cosworth, and going very wide there in the Deja Vu Promotions back car, the man who's just about to get married. And meanwhile, this Texaco back car, which Trevor Smith is actually sharing with Neil Dugan. They both got through to the final 16, so that's giving extra work, of course, to the Mellors mechanics, who are also looking after Peter Vassallo's Subaru and Brian Lyle's Subaru. We haven't seen that one yet, but that's a potential winner. And Trevor Smith, who now plays a very mean game of golf. He's basically given up rallying for golf. Goes trying there through the water splash, and this is very close indeed, I would suggest. And a lot of people are using that wide line at the top. And the sun is now starting to shine on the inaugural Silverstone Rally Sprint. Just look at Trevor Smith's hands on the wheel, and they are very, very close. And maybe Duckworth just got it. They come round this final left-hander together, and who's going to take it? Yes, just as Trevor Smith just edges out. Oh, look at Duckworth, look at the frustration. And the co-driver certainly enjoying himself. Big smile on his face. But maybe Duckworth has done, no, not enough to get in the top 8. And, well, Trevor Smith's 6th fastest time. You see how close it is now, but 34.18 still the time to beat. Here is a man who could do it. Brian Lyle, off they go against Neil Dugan. So, well, that escort certainly warmed up by Trevor Smith, and it's out on the next run. I think I can hear a horn going there. Rally cars tend to have the horn on the floor of the passenger side, and some of the passengers who are a little bit terrified sometimes press the horn. We've seen that happening several times on this rally sprint. But this is Brian Lyle, the car which has dominated thus far the Mintex series, which has dominated the Scottish series, against a man who would really love to beat Brian Lyle. Neil Dugan, friendly rivals, but strong rivals. And two very quick full World Championship spec rally cars here. And, well, it looks as if Lyle is in front of Dugan. Lyle was on the tarmac before Dugan was off it. Neil Dugan, who's a motor dealer in Scotland, as of course is Brian Lyle, the Aberdonian, who has one of the biggest motor dealerships in the whole of Scotland. And a mistake, was it, from Lyle? Lyle goes wide, Dugan goes wide. So the pair of them still going at it hammer and tongs, and this looks as if it's going to be a very quick time from Brian Lyle. Something flapping on the front of Lyle's car. Dugan is well out of shape, very nearly hits the rampart to the bridge. But this is a sensationally fast time from Lyle. Lyle's going to shatter the record. Certainly is. Lyle crossing the line. High, wide and handsome. 1:32.6. Dugan crossing the line. That's the end of the fastest 16 run. We are now down to the last 8. So let's check out who the 8 men who go forward are. Lyle Hill.